Hey, so we did the list of the best DLC in the Batman Arkham franchise before. We obviously came up with some great stuff, like the Crime Fighter Challenge packs, of course.
Cold Heart.
No, that's terrible.
You're an idiot.
You're right, I am. You are correct.
Oh, good.
So we're looking at the worst DLC today in the series, and the thing with this series is, like, it does have some bad DLC, but most of it's just disappointing, like a letdown.
I would completely agree. There was, when we were putting this list together too, it wasn't like, this is, well, there was some where it's like, we just didn't need this, or this wasn't necessary, but it wasn't like, it's awful content. It's just like, this didn't work for me.
No one asked for this.
This just didn't work. Yeah, it just wasn't good in that context, where it was like, disappointing, I guess, compared to what could have happened.
Yeah. So the first one we have actually is from Arkham Origins. And you're going to say, well, what DLC was there in Arkham Origins? First off, a lot of it was forgettable. But this was really forgettable. The supply drops for the multiplayer. Ooh. This does count as DLC.
Unfortunately.
And there's 2 of them. And it's weird. And I did buy these, actually. I own these.
You do?
Yeah, I bought them for the multiplayer because I love the multiplayer. But this is all stuff that should have been in it from the beginning. It's just like some extra weapons, some skins, stuff like that. It doesn't really add anything. It doesn't matter. And in fact, because the multiplayer, as fun as we think it was so dead a lot of the times, even at launch, like it was hard to get into a match. Like, what were you going to do with this?
Yeah, that's the thing is, I think the content that we saw, it was like a sawed-off shotgun. I think it was like some character gear
for... A sniper rifle of some kind.
Yeah, maybe a light machine gun, and it was like some character gear for Bane's SWAT characters. I mean, it was just, there wasn't a lot to it. It wasn't very interesting. It's like, oh, it's not like COD, where it's like, oh, a new gun, like, look at this. Like, this is more powerful than other guns.
Right.
Like how it has been in the past. This is just like, oh, here's a gun. That's it. This is the supply drop too. It's like, that's not great. I don't care about that. This is a Batman game. Like, this doesn't matter. And especially, like you said, with the multiplayer, where we're waiting sometimes for 15 to 20 minutes to get into a game, just to get into a game. Yeah, it's definitely not a great DLC.
No, it's not at all. And it's just, like we said, disappointing.
Yeah.
Because the only really great DLC we got out of Origins was Cold Heart. Everything else was, like, fun to okay.
Like Initiation?
Yeah, it's fine.
It's okay.
And like the Deathstroke Challenge Pack, it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool to play as him, but that's it. It's all just fine, which I think is more of a cardinal sin even than being bad in a lot of ways.
Very lukewarm.
To be forgettable,
yeah,
that sucks.
I agree.
The next one we have is, this really encapsulates disappointment to me because I don't think it's awful. And that's Dem Bones in Arkham Asylum. Why are you laughing?
They laugh. I don't know. Oh. Dem Bones. I don't know.
It's like the song, like Dem Bones.
Oh yeah. That's what. Yeah, it was. So it was disappointing, I guess, in that we were looking at all of the DLC for all of the games, and when we looked at Asylum, it was like, well, the Joker one was fun. I think that was a cool part of the game. And
yeah, it was.
It was the PS3 exclusive thing for a while before it became like the remastered version. But then, like, when you get to some of the other stuff, Crime Alley was fine, but you look at Dem Bones, and there's really not a lot to it. I think it's like, is it 1 or 2 maps? Just basically an extension of Scarecrow. And like you said earlier when we were talking about this too, it would have been way cooler if they added something in-world instead of something like this, where it was like, here's an added storyline with a character that we didn't see in the main story.
Yeah, like all those characters we see in the bios. And I know they retconned a lot of the bios fine, but at the time, they didn't. Like, those were the bios. And so it's like, why didn't we see Great White Shark?
Prometheus.
Why didn't we see Prometheus? Yeah, someone like that. I mean, they really had like a sky's the limit thing on what they could have done, and it's very clear that it was low effort DLC.
Agreed.
I don't think they really tried very hard. And in fact, this fight, the Dem Bones fight, it's like a variant of one that's already in the game with the skeletons and Scarecrow anyway. So like,
the only difference is you can't get hit. That's the only thing, is you get hit once you lose. So it's just trying to get a high score as high as you possibly can without getting hit and getting a high combo, getting your score up there, which is a fun idea, but that's it, though.
It's more a fun idea, though, for a game with more refined combat. Like, this was the first entry into this series. It has the worst combat by far, and, like, the least responsive, and Batman will either pinball all over the place or he will just not move. So, like, that's the thing. It's like, I think this could have worked in Arkham Knight or Arkham City. but I don't think it worked here very well.
Well, not really by itself. I think it needs to be like a bundle. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like something
yeah.
where there's multiple maps included in this, and not just like, you know, the bare bones of
Nice.
it. You know,
Got him.
It's so good, dude.
All right, so the next one we have is the GCPD Lockdown from Arkham Knight. Oh, we're getting into the
nitty gritty.
yeah. Oh, this is just dumb, honestly. Like, so they made all these like story expansions to try to like wrap up loose ends from Arkham Knight. I'm fine with them in the sense of them making a character playable in challenge maps. That's not the problem. So like
in City.
yeah, so the positive part about this is it bringing did this bring in Nightwing so that he was already in the base game.
Yeah, because he had those
Yeah.
side missions with Penguin.
Yeah, so he was already playable in the challenge maps.
You go
anyway.
around, tag team it with Batman, and you go around, like, even in the world,
Yeah.
you go around, you know, and do that. And then he was already in the challenge maps, too. You could go across.
Well, that's what I was
and do
trying to
that.
remember is if he was in the challenge maps already or
Yes.
not.
Yep, he was.
But, like, so if this had just introduced him as playable for the first time, kind of like the Harley Quinn map pack did.
Yes.
Or Red Hood. That stuff's cool. Because, like, all of a sudden they make a whole new character playable. Very little effort went into some of those characters because they're only given, like, 2 gadgets. But they're at least playable and usable.
Mm-hmm.
But this doesn't do that, and on top of that, it also really doesn't expand the world at all. It doesn't do anything to build out Nightwing in any way. It makes him super cheesy. It seems like, from what we were reading off the wiki too about this, because we were refreshing on some stuff, they tried to like make him like funny, like in Young Justice and stuff too, and like kind of messed with his characterization a little bit. It's just weird all over. Like the character's weird. Nobody asked to see this. Nobody wanted this.
No, his
doesn't
dialogue
do anything.
his dialogue was very flat, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It wasn't like funny or witty, really.
No.
It was just like, it was pretty flat. And by the and this is a theme for the number 2 entry as well. It was 13, maybe 15 minutes long.
Well,
max
yeah,
of
when
kinda
we
what
went
we're
back,
looking at.
we didn't play through this again
No.
now because these suck.
Yeah.
What we
Yeah.
did was we actually watched Batman Arkham Videos, shout out to Batman Arkham Videos,
Indeed.
play through this. The guy who probably got us the most into this series actually in high school.
I would say so, yeah.
And
all the trailers, all like,
Yeah.
he was great.
And we watched him play through this again, and even letting dialogue play out, like completely, it was 13 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he had just pushed through it, it would probably be 10 or sub 10 minutes.
And that's the thing too, is this, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, if you didn't get the season pass, these episodes were like $5 a piece, I think.
I think you're about right. I don't remember the exact breakdown, but I think that's around the pricing.
Yeah, so if it was, say it was $5, just hypothetically, I could be wrong, then that is super disappointing just for the money that you're paying for it, because you're getting 10 minutes of content for $5. Like that's, based on just comparing that to other games, that's not anything.
No,
know
and
what
you
I
have to think too, like compared to other mediums, you can go to a movie. There's movie theaters that still the ticket prices are like $8.
Yeah, well, there's $5 Tuesdays now too, so you can
Yeah.
get movies for $5, 2 hours of content. So I mean, it was disappointing, and the story, even at the end, like it was just, you're basically tracking down Penguin. You get to him, you put him in prison, and that's supposed to kind of
Hey,
tie that
by
up.
the way, what's up with the Penguin Nightwing rivalry in these games? Because they like keep acting like they're like really big enemies like throughout the games, and they never really show anything to indicate that at all that matters. Like it's almost like they act like the Penguin is the Joker for Nightwing.
I know. I don't know why. I don't know why they pushed that.
Yeah, they pushed it in City and they pushed it in Night too. Because in City, like that, I believe his maps were related to Penguin.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right.
So I don't know. It's weird to me. Like there's just weird decisions in this. We could go on and on about it, but it's just not great.
And that's the thing. It was only 12 minutes of content, so it's weird that we can go on and on about it.
Yeah, I know.
That's
We
not a
could
good
talk
thing.
about it longer than it was.
Yeah.
The next one we have is a flip of a coin from Arkham Knight. This is so weird. Now, how did you feel about like the whole Barbara Gordon and Tim Drake romance thing? I noticed some people hate it. I don't have an opinion. I think it's like the least of the problems.
Yeah, see, I don't really care about it. It's fine. I don't have like that's the worst thing in
Yeah,
Arkham.
I think
you know
people
what I mean?
wanted her with Dick Grayson, which I understand because that's more the traditional way to
more
take
lined
it.
up, yeah.
And it is weird, but like it's like there were so many problems with some of the characterizations of the Bat family at certain points too anyway, that's like the least of them for me.
It just didn't really, I was indifferent towards it.
Yeah,
I guess, would be a way to put it. I didn't really care.
It doesn't help that you don't really see them. Like, you don't see Barbara enough. Like, you see her enough to care in Night.
Right.
You don't really see Nightwing enough to care that much in Night, unless you already have a connection to Nightwing outside the game.
Right.
It's the same with Robin. Like, you don't see him. He's just never there.
They try to establish it based on like when Barbara gets kidnapped in Night, and it's like, oh, he's concerned. Oh, this is messed up. Like, this is horrifying. And that's like the big thing where it's like that's where it plays in the most, I think. But that's about it. And then you get to this DLC, and the focus was on tracking down Two-Face in Hell's Gate. You go through there, and like it is, this is a theme with the Arkham Knight DLCs, and it's similar to what happened with GCPD Lockdown with Nightwing, is it's just like a 10 to 15 minute thing where you go through.
Oh, this one's shorter. This was 12.
Oh, so it was even shorter than the other one. And this was where you're going through and doing the similar thing that you do in all of them.
What did you call it? Like 3-3-2-3 or 1-2-3? I think you call it. Where it's like it's a variation. It's either Predator Combat Predator or like Combat Predator Combat.
It's one of those three, yeah. And I was having a hard time getting that out, but it's one of those combinations of things. And it's super annoying because, like I said with GCPD Lockdown, it's $5. I mean, at that point, add in a challenge map. You know what I mean? Or like, because you're going to get more out of that with all the different characters. You're going to get more gameplay out of that than you will with this at that point, honestly. Because 12 minutes of content, it's not like really tying a bow on the Two-Face storyline, really.
There wasn't a Two-Face storyline, is the other thing. Like, these characters had very shallow storylines.
Yes.
So it's like no one asked for the bow to be tied.
No. And this was just, it was $5 that was not worth it by any means. And there wasn't a lot of depth to it. You're just kind of walking around quickly. You get through, you beat up Two-Face, that's the end. They could have made this so much cooler and actually made a legit storyline out of it and didn't. It was like 10 minutes, you're done, boom. We'll just quickly throw this out as part of our season pass, you know?
Yeah. The final one we have is actually it's a bunch of things together. It's just like what we did for the Crime Fighter packs, but I think it's fair, and that is all of the racetracks from Batman Arkham Knight. Now, nobody asked for these. Again, no one bought Batman Arkham Knight to play Need for Speed or Burnout. Nobody bought this to be like, oh man, I want Batman Team Racing. No one was here for this, and yet they pushed it at every possible opportunity because they were like, hey, we made the car, you're going to use it. And we talk about that over and over, about how there's this weird mentality from Rocksteady in this game of like, okay, you asked for the Batmobile, you better like it. And it's like, but nobody asked for it to be jammed down their throat at every turn. They just wanted to be able to drive it from place to place and maybe shoot some people. That's it.
You do them once, and it's like, well, great, I did that, that's it. It's not something you go back and play. It's not something that we really were, like you said, asking for at all. It wasn't a priority. It wasn't something that I really wanted. I would have liked to see something where they focused and added more to the previous stories that we talked about, or they maybe did some different challenge maps, because really, I play more of the combat maps and even the Predators a little bit. The racetracks have never been a priority with this game ever, for me personally as a player, and I think for most people. So there were some cool skins themselves, but the racetracks were not necessary. Maybe have like one or two of them for fun if someone likes that, but most people don't care. So it's like, I don't need this. This was not necessary to make.
Yeah. So hey, that's our list of the 5 worst Batman Arkham series DLC in our opinion. What do you think about the list? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let us know in the comments down below. Please leave a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more content. Hey, been doing a lot of fun other non-Arkham stuff as well. Just did first part of my Assassin's Creed review. I think probably the second part might be out by the time this comes out. So check that out. Please support me so I'm not homeless. And we'll see you in the next one. Have a fantastic day.
A call for pity. Brilliant.
They'll never know that we recorded this from the public library since I already am homeless.